stream, which is pretty awesome if you ask me. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about some houses. We've got we got cottage, villa, and the manor. But before I do, I thought it was a good idea to kind of show you how this has progressed and where they're at now. And even though we're actually technically in a pre-alpha, I still think they've come a long way. So some of you will remember this, some of you won't, but this is a little something we like to call the gray box house. So this was the very first house we put in for a gray box world, and you can still see the temp texture. And this was used for scale. This was purely done for scale. This was kind of our initial how we were going to do character sizes and all that kind of business. And so this was the first iteration. Then we came with this little guy. We shrunk him down. We made him a little bit more boxy. I would say this would be the first real house asset that had textures and whatnot. We closed it off so you couldn't get in. This was for, I think, when we went over to, was it Hunger Dome, Todd? When we had actual textures in the game?
It was late Hunger Dome.
Yeah, late Hunger Dome. And then the version that's in now is this guy, which is just a slightly better version of that center one. And it's actually got some stuff in it and whatnot. So this is all old stuff. And now this is where we're at with the new stuff. So this is actually that's the same size as the last third house and first house. These are the same blueprint size scale. We just added some extra fluff on there to make it look really cool. And this is what you would be getting. This is how it would look. You would just get a standard, some windows, a little bit of lighting inside, but it would be empty. And it's up to you, the player, to put stuff in it. And what's really cool, what I like about what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having attachments to these houses. So you're going to be able to attach different things like different window panels. You'll be able to build different houses with different trims and like materials, different rocks or all wood, so to say, not stucco. And I'll show you those combinations later. But this is the new cottage. This is the new base small house that's going to be in the game, and I like it. It's simple yet interesting, so to say. And me, Dave, and Todd, and Melissa, we all worked pretty hard to kind of come up with a good shape and silhouette that we felt was good for moving forward. And that brings us to the villa, which is just the next iteration of the cottage. It's just slightly bigger, slightly cooler. It's got a little balcony. And once again, you're going to get the base house when you buy these. Unless we have some sort of bundle package where it comes with stuff already put in. But this is, again, slightly bigger, taller, more roomy. And you'll be able to put a lot more stuff in this. And then you'll be able to come up and say, hey, how's it going? And then the last one I'm going to show is the manor, which is kind of the big boy, and it's fully furnished. I went ahead and just threw some stuff in there. He's on over here. Trek through the woods. Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember the square footages of each of those things?
Oh God, I knew someone was going to ask that. I do, kinda. It's big. They're big. They're so big. I do have this written down somewhere, the square footage. It's changed quite a bit. But just to give you an idea, I mean, this is the manor. And here's just a giant great hall room that you'll be able to put all kinds of stuff in here. I have crafting tables, which we'll be showing off. We have a bunch of props scattered around. Here, I'll just walk down there. Here's one of the crafting tables that Aaron did. This is the Ruinstone crafting station, I think it is. And just threw some tables in here. And again, this will all be based off the token system, weight system that we've come up with. So you won't be able to just throw in 1,000 potatoes. That's not how it's going to work. You're going to have a certain amount of stuff you can put in here. It will be a lot. We're going to want to try to fill it up to the brim for everybody, but there will be a limit to what you can put in a house. And for example, I have a statue over here. This is the hero statue that's also at the moment at the center of the temple. So I just kind of threw this in here to give you an idea. You'll be able to place objects like this in your houses. Oh, let's go up into this is Gordon's favorite room. For some reason, Gordon hates this room up here. It's a little kind of nook hideaway that I built. He just does not like it. And just for that, I put the necromancy table because I thought it fit Gordon perfectly. Again, another really, really well done crafting station that Aaron did. He's been awesome. Little breakfast nook out here. So before you go killing and maiming, you can get a hearty breakfast. And then there's a couple more rooms in here. So this is the Alchemy Station. So you'll be able to do some alchemy, kind of a built-in fireplace, but you can also put in your own hearth. So this was added in, propped down. And then, of course, you know, this could be an ideal room for like a bedroom or a throne. It's really kind of up to you. Any questions so far that they have, Todd? So I figured me and Todd will start banging out some questions that you guys, I'm sure, have.
Mad props of the crafting table models.
What's up?
They gave mad props.
Oh.
Really like the crafting tables.
Yeah, this was, again, Dave and Mr. Aaron. Dave concepted all these awesome tables, and Aaron has done a really good job at building them. And just to kind of give you guys an idea of the scale and size of this stuff, the small cottage that you originally saw was about 1,700 square feet. The villa was about 5,500 square feet. And then, of course, this manor, it jumps up. This is about 15,500 square feet. So it's big. The scales are big. And I wish I could have a player in here. I'm on my own little server, and I don't have an avatar in here. But a player is not much bigger than, you know, the size of the chairs.
Somebody wants you to go back to the alchemy tables.
Yeah, can you go back to the station?
Sure.
Because you kind of zipped your roof.
I did. Well, I figured we'd come back. So this is the Alchemy Station.
No cooking table yet?
The cooking table's being made. There's a couple other ones that are being made. The wood shop one is being created at the moment. So I think there's 4 in here right now. There's the Alchemy, the Necromancer, the Ruined Stone. This is the Ruined Stone crafting one.
Somebody asked how much the manor cost in the store.
And this is the stonemason one, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want to make sure I don't say the wrong thing.
Right this minute or normal?
Both.
He has to repeat the figure. Normally I think it's 180, right now it's 144.
So now what I'll show you is I'm actually going to exit out of this, and I'll show you the idea of how you'll be able to craft different house looks based off the material type. So I'm gonna pause out of this, go into Unity view. All right. So just for example, we have like this paver stone on here. By crafting with different types of stone or how good it is or how rare it is, you'll be able to get different kinds of looks. So you'll quickly be able to get something like this kind of combination. Or if you wanted something that was all wood, you could have that kind of combination. It's going to be really fun once we start deciding how crazy we want to get with this, because we could do all kinds of things. Like you could have almost an all stone looking house if you really wanted to. This part's kind of really up to Todd how far he wants us to push this and whatever combinations really we can come up with. And I'm only using just a handful of some textures that I made, some procedural textures. So we'll have a whole bunch of them. Different types of roofs, like thatched roofs, and different types of tiles on the roofs. We'll have different stones. There'll be a whole bunch that you'll be able to kind of come up with yourself and come up with a kind of unique, fun combination. Todd ditched me here. He was supposed to be my eyes because I don't have this. Are there any questions? Because I can't see anything. John?
John,
Yeah,
he needs a question.
sorry, I'm on a delay over here.
You're on a delay. You're 2 feet from me.
I'm watching the delay.
So, and with the whole token system, just to kind of give you more of an idea. So, for now, like I have this piece in here, which represents just kind of the base window set, so to say. At one point, you'll be able to actually change out different sizes. So I think we're going to have like small windows, medium windows, and large windows. So all the large windows, for example, let's just say these were 2 of the same size windows, you would be able to swap those out for something different. And same thing with putting stuff around the house. I don't really have too much. You'll be able to have little bundles of, say, like a barrel or like a wheelbarrow and some hay, or a couple of crates or whatever. We'll have slots around the house that you'll be able to just put them in and, just kind of maneuver them around so you get more of a unique look. And then inside, the idea is to have, for the most part, on the tables, free placing, but I know we're going to only be able to have a certain amount of crafting stations. So I think for the large right now, it's either 6 or 7 crafting stations you can have. The small obviously would be 1 crafting station. The medium would be 2 or 3 crafting stations. I can't see any questions, so someone
I'll
needs
read it to you.
Okay.
There's a bunch actually coming in. A lot of them are design questions though. that-
Yeah, well, if Blair or Todd wants to, Todd ditched me, so if he wants to come back in, he was supposed to answer questions as I was showing this off.
You want to sit down and answer with
By the way, this is one of Eric's awesome statues he did for us.
Can you interact with the deco, like sit on chairs, lay down on beds?
Do you have a sit animation?
We do have a sit animation, which
Stop working with chairs.
Todd loves.
Not yet.
Not yet. I think all of that kind of micro stuff is all on the table. It's just there's priority way before that, right? We want to make sure you guys get what's necessary. Sitting down in a chair is not necessarily necessary. Necessary. But it would be cool, and I know that's kind of something they want to do. So I think for something like a throne, you would be able, I think we talked about for sure. So I don't know why that wouldn't be able to carry over to, say, a small chair. But a question would be is how do you do that with a centaur? How does a centaur sit in a chair? I guess they wouldn't, right?
The next one. I'm gonna read the
In-
nocturnal.
All right, he's here. So we'll go back.
Hello.
We'll go back. I was showing him all the combinations that you're going to be able to do.
Did someone cover
Yeah, yeah.
No, yeah, come on in.
You gotta do the questions. You ready for a question?
Yeah, give me questions.
Did someone cover the difference between a crafting table at a personal UK versus what would be found and managed by a guild through a campaign win?
The table's going to be basically the same. Of course, there's a difference in terms of how you get stuff in general. Like the houses that you're buying on the store, you can put in the EKs. You can't take those into a campaign world. But all the assets are the same, and to the degree we can make the systems identical, we are going to do that. So it's basically it's the same effective thing. These crafting tables work like easy bake ovens. Like you put things into them and then they cook, and you can actually leave and come back later to retrieve your stuff. That was something that we did on Shadowbane that I really liked, because it actually, I mentioned rubber bands earlier, design rubber bands, things that kind of cause you to stop your adventuring and come back to interrupt that loop every now and then, purposefully. That's a behavior that we want because it leads to increased socialization. The crafting table served that purpose in Shadowbane, so that was a design decision that I just kind of carried forward into this game.
In terms of crafting buildings in game, are you thinking it'll be something akin to how crafting works now, where you make parts that have a timer, or will it be more like an RTS where there are build plots and you feed it material?
There are two different things that are one of them is similar to each of what you said. So first of all, to build a building, it will use crafting. So you'll have to go collect materials, use those materials to create sub-materials, then use those components to build a house. We may decide, in fact, we're trying to work it out to where the house, even though you drop it as a deed, it doesn't instantaneously appear. especially for wall segments. This is important because I want to put down wall segments and have them in a kind of a pre-construction state, so that eventually then they pop online. What's nice about that is it effectively sets a timer for other people to deal with you before your walls come up. One of the most fun sieges that I ever had in Shadowbane, we were literally fighting as the walls were popping into existence. They were all kind of in that build state initially, and they were right about to turn. So during the course of the siege, they were kind of flipping into the full state, and that was really awesome. So we have another piece of functionality though, which we call the hungry hippo spawners.
Yeah.
Internally,
love
and they're
that.
basically it's you find an asset in the world that you have to feed materials to that then cause something to spawn. So we'll probably end up having both of these mechanics in the game, because I can imagine that for different campaign rules we're going to have to rely on different ones. For the campaign rules like the Shadow and the Dregs, we're going to need to have just open world placement. You drop deeds. It's going to be actually very similar to housing. For the God's Reach campaign, though, where you can't really control what the other players are going to do who might be on your team, some of whom will absolutely be trolls and spies and things like that, we need to come up with a system that's a little bit more structured. So in that instance, we'll predetermine some of the plots, and you'll have to come up and basically you'll have things already placed in that pre-build state, and by feeding materials into them, that will pop them into the active state. So I mean, we're wiring all this stuff together now, so just like every other system we've done, we have ideas how it's going to work. We'll try those out, and then we'll end up iterating, because that's the way it works when you're dealing with innovation. So I'd love to give you an exact answer of here's how it's going to work, and let me describe the tables to you. We're not there yet.
Do your houses have exclusive practical uses, or are they more for aesthetic purposes?
Okay, so this is one I haven't sat down and done yet. They do have effectively token limits in the same way that the parcels have token limits. So, right, if I've got a town parcel, that parcel can only have this many large buildings and this many medium buildings and this many small buildings. Same with the fences and same with props. So what we'll end up doing is using a similar system inside the buildings for being able to place things in there. So you'll have a certain limit on the number of decorations, a certain limit on the number of NPC thralls, and a certain limit on the number of crafting stations that you can put in. The other thing, did you talk about the accessories, John?
A little bit, yeah.
So the accessories, I think, will end up looking a little bit more like equipment slots.
Yeah.
Because, I don't want people to actually go in and be placing those windows on the walls. I don't want freeform window placement. So instead, and I don't want you to have to go and cook up 20 different windows. So my thought on that was to have an equipment slot that you can slot a window of a certain look into, and basically everywhere that window is, it changes that asset. Do you have the base template with all the pink and that shows kind of where those things are?
I can bring that up, but we did talk about possibly doing free placement for objects.
I would like to do free
Yeah.
placement though for decorations inside. So that's kind of a difference. Is we may things that have literal in-game effects like relics and NPC thralls and crafting stations. I think we're going to need to limit those, and the way to do that is either through slots or through tokens. More likely through tokens, because I don't mind if they drag them around. I just don't want a person to. I don't want it to look like Westworld, right, where they've just got an endless set of NPCs and ranks filing back through the room. I want to limit that stuff. But then decorations in general, I really want people to be able to just slide around and put wherever they want. And that's just, it uses simple just collision, right? If I try to slide this table through a wall, it stops, it blocks it.
Yeah, let me load up I'll load up Maya, and we'll show how the slots are. There we go. Take 1 second. And these are the concepts that Dave did, and it shows you the different states. Like this is a nice, it has windows, lights, showing. And this is kind of a more rundown version. So we talked about this could be possibly.
So this might
what you
be
would run
another.
up on
This
on
might
a
be an
campaign.
example of the hungry spawner in the campaigns.
Yeah.
I come up and I see this dilapidated building, and I can access a menu that allows me to drag materials into it and say rebuild this, which would I think be very cool and also more thematic. I didn't want a campaign to just have a bunch of stuff in construction. Some of that would be fine, but I really like the idea of all this stuff looking haunted, like you're literally scavenging these dying worlds. I think that fits with our narrative really well.
Just close this down, and I'm going to pull this over.
Other questions, John, while we're sitting here and John's pulling this up?
Let's see here.
Yeah, this shows off. So this is actually just a good example of what we usually go through when showing off scale and iterations, so to say, and you can see different scales and sizes and gray boxes and really, really basic cubes and shapes. This is kind of what we do to get to the point where we're at now.
Yeah, there's a ton of iteration
Yeah.
that happens on this stuff.
That you
like
don't-
you know,
that you never
where
see.
John and Dave and Melissa and I will go through and space this stuff out and figure out, does it need to be bigger or smaller, or hey, the difference between a medium and a large building is just not big enough, or it's too big, and we try and figure out those, because then I want to relate that back to the tokens. And then wherever it impacts actual, it's not just visual, wherever it impacts actual game design, then I go grab Blair and I bring him into the conversation and we discuss it in terms of spacing and flow and things like that. There's a lot that goes into this, which is why sometimes when you guys ask questions, we're not ready to give answers yet. It's because we hate to constantly come back and change our answer. But it's inevitable. As we do this, we learn, and by learning, we're like, oh well, that didn't work. We should go with this approach. So go through real quick. I'm pointing on the screen. It's probably back here, but John can explain kind of how the attachables work.
So you can see the colors that are matching. Those would be an example of our slotting system. So that the windows that match the same colors, when you decide, say, hey, I want a window that looks like this, or it has all the little, what they call the LED crossy window thingies.
Is that what they call them?
Melissa told me yesterday. I completely forgot what they're called.
The LED crossy window thingies.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it looks like a Harlequin pattern, effectively, right? It's a cross pattern.
So when you want to swap those, whatever fits inside the, say, medium, for example, they all get swapped out. And this does a couple things. It prevents us from getting way out of hand on how would you keep all this, track all this, and put all this and whatnot. And it just makes it a little bit easier, I think, to manage. Also giving you the customization that you want to get kind of a cool looking house. I already showed him how we'll possibly be able to swap out all that stuff by different building materials based on rarity and whatnot.
So the green thing that's in the overhang over there, that's an interesting one, right? That's purely cosmetic.
Yeah.
You can see that it's echoed at the top and it's echoed on the side. Do you have Dave's concept?
Yes.
By any chance, we can show what those look like.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you can see. Can they see my cursor? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
So this would be a perfect example of little extra trim pieces that are not
Do you
necessary.
have the
like
one where he
Todd
did the
said.
lineup? He did a couple of different ones.
I don't have that on me right now, but yeah, they've concepted something like this somewhere.
Maybe we can get Melissa to dig that up for us and slack it over to you.
Let's get that up.
I
But we had
think
different
he's walking.
versions. Ones
Hold
were
on, let me ask her real
curved,
quick.
some were curved up. It's a very Viking-esque type of trim piece that comes out. And we're going to have all kinds. And you'll be able to slot different versions in. And we even talked about having a way to hang your guild banners off these things and different places to hang guild banners. So if you had a parcel that's specifically for your guild and guildies and all your houses, you could kind of theme out the whole village to have the same materials on the houses, to have the same roofs, to have the same trims and the same banners. And anyone rolling through that would realize, okay, this is enemy territory.
Will there be doors?
There most likely is going to be doors. Right now, we're still debating on the door mechanic. Does it open? Does it close? Is it just automatic? Once the character bumps it, does it just open up and close on its own? Do you have to X to interact type of thing? So that's still something we're trying to figure out. On doors, Todd, right?
Yeah, I'd like to just not do them if we can.
I know we talked about not doing them, but we also talked about possibly just having where the character pushes it open.
Yeah, we talked about a bunch of different options. I think for now we'll just kind of leave them open in the meantime. So there's a huge benefit you get out of them, right? Which is that it makes a very clear designation between whether you have to render something or not.
Yeah.
So if you have doors and you have frosted windows, then all of those interior props can be hidden at all times, and that's a huge cost savings in terms of your frame rate. On the other side of it, though, if you have doors, you have to deal with stuff like centaur butts getting stuck in them, right? So, one way or the other, you're going to have to pay some kind of price.
Yeah, it's interesting when we went through in the very beginning on how we were going to do scale. You can't really tell based off my camera right now, but these are really, really big.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, these things
the
are.
scale is just unbelievable, and I'll actually pop back into. Oh, not that guy.
You want me to just keep rattling off questions?
Yeah,
There's
just
a
keep 'em
lot
coming.
in.
Okay, cool.
Do you need a house if you have a fort, keep, or castle?
So do you need a house? I don't know that you have to have one. It depends on what part of the games you want to explore. So a fort, a keep, or a castle is great for defense, and it's going to be really good. It's really more the power game where you're going to try and get other people to come and settle your area, and you're providing defenses and making the area look cool and stuff like that. But it's not going to provide you those city wall. Those are city wall bundles, right? They have towers and walls and stairs and ramps and interior walls. That's not, if you want to just do crafting like necromancy, that's not going to serve that purpose. So there's no easy answer to that. It kind of depends on what you want to do in the game. But if you want to do all of those things, then you're going to need multiple things to be able to do it.
So
Does
this
that
is
answer that? I think it does.
this is the scale of the knight, for example, the height, so to say, and about the width. And you can see how massive these doorways
Yeah, those are Minotaur-sized doors.
Yeah.
Myrmidon-sized doors.
Actually, I take it back. I think this might be the size of this is 1.9, so it's closer to the Minotaur size, because we had to go to the largest character, and that's how I have to base all these scales for. Anytime we make something new, we have to take the largest scale character, and we have now kind of a default scale, not to
Yeah,
we don't
yeah.
go past that.
Well, that was a lot of figuring it out.
Yeah.
What size are our doors? What size are the windows? The windows are not going to be realistic. Like a lot of times when you walk up on the inside, they're not going to be like right where you would actually look through them if you were looking from a camera standpoint. But that's because realism always loses out to funism, right?
Yeah.
So it's much more important for us to make it look cool and play fun than to make it realistic. I wouldn't be surprised if the knight is like way down below the actual windows. In here, he'd see out just fine.
Yeah, in here it would work.
Not that you can.
And
anyway.
I was able to do that. But here we just decided, you know what, we're going to put them up a little bit higher so we won't have to worry about that. And it makes our lives easier, so to say.
Cool. Did that trim thing ever come in over Slack? I have no idea if it did or not. But
Let me
other questions, John? Give me more.
Let me check.
So many coming in so fast.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Can you set it up so your personal kingdom can be rated?
We haven't figured out yet if we want to actually allow for open rating. We do have a number. I've got kind of a growing list of knobs that we want to set, that we want to let people set rather for their EKs. Whether you certainly can set it up so that it's open to other players to come in. You certainly can set it up so that you have open PvP. What we haven't determined yet is, do we want to do some kind of a challenge system where I can have my EK and John can have his, and we issue a challenge to each other and say, all right, mine is connected to yours for the next week, and we can cross over and do raids into the other guy's territory. Something like that would be really cool. It sounds like a great post-launch feature. We've already got a full plate right now, but I'm very open to doing stuff like that. And what's awesome is our architecture is very well suited for it, right? We already have character transfers between worlds. We're already going to set up all those knobs for the campaign worlds. So I'm not opposed to it at all. I just don't want to make any more promises because we got a game to make. So this was an example of, the thing that we showed on the house where those trim
guys.
pieces are sticking out, is exploring what are the different kinds of things we can do. There's a really cool kind of Celtic wolf-looking one. This one was some kind of more traditional crows.
What is that house?
That one right there is the lodge,
This is the
actually.
lodge, yeah.
So so we have this concept of having a central building in your stronghold. In the Hunger Dome, it was that keep, right, that everybody would fight over. In Siege Perilous, we used that keep. We actually put the Tree of Life on top of it. So the lodge was that for the fort. The fort, we tried to make one building for each. Though technically speaking, you can mix and match, right? If I want to use those wooden palisade walls and I want to put them around the Great Hall, I can do the Great Hall that we used in Siege Perilous. I can do that as long as the parcel supports tokens that support that number and size of buildings.
Did I already ask you guys about the utility of the house, the purpose?
Yes. And you showed off the variations of the
So that's
walls
all
and the
kind of
roof
combinations,
and stuff like that.
and which is going to be again, right? So one thing I like about what we're doing here, and some people will probably disagree with us, but unlike games like Rust or Ark, where you have to craft Minecraft style, where you get these pieces and you craft little wall sections and you just kind of like how we're doing our walls for
Yeah.
keeps, but you actually have to build a structure like that. They never truly come out like like real house looking. It's always like a square
very
box.
boxy.
It's very boxy. So we originally were thinking about, well, should we do something like that, give that kind of power to the players to create that kind of stuff. But then
We actually went down the path of looking at it, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it quite a bit, and we eventually settled on, you know what, we just don't think that's this game. Let's concentrate more on giving them a base and letting them accessorize it and letting them put in things that matter, like relics and thralls and crafting stations. But no, we aren't doing the I can build a wall here and then I can do a floor
Yeah,
here.
you'll
and
get
stuff
the
like
hou-
that.
this is
You'll
what you
actually
get.
the baseline house and then you'll accessorize.
I think you
it.
said it perfectly. It's like equipment slots. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like this is a character, and you're going to accessorize this character.
And then inside, I'd love to let you have control to slide your chairs and your tables and all your decorations around to really
Yeah.
customize the heck out of it. I definitely am in favor of that. We just made a decision that we didn't think that was really core to this game, and it raised a whole bunch of design concerns as well. It's like, all right, well, we have to build a whole system for deciding, you know, can I build a maze out of this thing? And what happens if somebody does that in the campaign world and stuff like that?
Can't get out or something.
Yeah. So and what if they build a maze around the graveyards? Because you guys would. That'd be like the first thing I would do. Is let's surround this graveyard in a maze so that people spawn in and die. So that's
Kinda
sounds
cool.
kind of fun. It sounds kind of cool, but it actually really isn't. I mean, it's cool for the one guy who builds a maze, and it's not very fun for the 30 people that die repeatedly trying to get out of it. So, what else you got, John? Anything else?
There's a lot of people concerned about how do you lock these if there's no doors?
That is a great question. So we'll have to. That's a problem that we'll have to solve. I mean, quite frankly, we could just use a collider and have the interior be dark. I mean, that's it's not ideal, but it certainly would work. So we do need to worry about functionality like that. We don't want people rifling through and stealing everybody else's stuff in their EKs.
Guard dogs?
So one of the types of thralls that we will likely have is going to be guards. We'll need city guards. We'll need archers. I hadn't really thought about personal housing guards, but I don't know that necessarily.
Guard dogs?
We could even maybe have. Well, they'd be thralls, so they'd be ghostly, spirit guard dogs, I suppose. So,
Let's see.
but actually, we could use pets for that. Now that I think about it, they wouldn't have to be thralls.
So are crafting stations all the same, or can you craft a legendary one, etc.?
We haven't done the design on that yet. My guess is that we will have various levels, and that will affect.
You might want to repeat that.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. The question was, are we going to have various tiers or levels or ranks of crafting stations so that one necromancy crafting station might be better or worse than another one? We are going to have that. I don't know exactly what those effects will be. It could be they require less resources or adjust the recipes that you can access from there. It could be that they speed it up. I like the dripping blood. It's kind of an endless pooling amount of blood. So the short answer is yes, but I don't have the details on that. We haven't worked that out yet.
Can we get even a snippet on thralls and volume for possible housing sizes? I mean, things are on sale now, so.
Yeah, that's part of the reason they are on sale is because we haven't locked that stuff down yet, and I really don't want to because I don't. So let's say I tell you, okay, well the manor is going to have X number of thralls. I'm not even going to give an example because somebody will quote me on it. This manor is going to have X number of thralls, and they may be even different thrall slots. It can have 2 vendors and it can have up to 2 guards or something like that. Oh shit, I gave a number. Damn it.
They get quoted immediately.
I
They're
know,
going to make a
immediately.
quote out of this.
So if I give a number like that, and then we get in and we actually do the design table, and it turns out, no, the number is 1 of these and 4 of these, I'm going to get customer support requests from people saying, hey, I bought that because you said it could have this, and so that's why I'm reluctant to do it. Those kind of decisions are going to be changing up until we launch the game. They just are. So, what's that? Oh, it's 5 o'clock?
Oh.
Okay. So those things
by
are going to
quick.
be changing up until the game launches. So that's why I've been so reluctant to give out stuff that is design oriented. I mean, I can mark it with a giant caveat that says, hey, this stuff is subject to change. But even if it is subject to change, if it had 4 and 4 and then it comes out and it's 3 and 2, I'm going to have people upset. So that's why I've been so reluctant to do it. I'm just trying to protect you guys and protect me from you guys.
I think that's probably more the case there.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, I guess this is
all right.
what's next.
I think that is it. John, thank you very much.
Sure.
This was really cool. I'm glad to finally. We've been working on this stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm glad to finally show it to you. So I am. Once we get these into the game and see how they perform, then I'm going to feel comfortable putting at least the number of tokens per parcel.
Yeah.
Because I do know what player populations we want per parcel, and I do know what buildings. When we have a chart that shows here's the different parcels and here's how many tokens they have and here's what happens when you rank them up. We haven't tested that yet, and my fear is if I put it out and then we
Yeah.
get it into game and it
blows
turns
away.
out we're just off for whatever reason. And we've even tested in the game, at least with dropping those number of buildings and testing, do we like the way this looks from a population of the density of building standpoint. And so I feel like we're close. We're just not quite there, so I've been reluctant to say anything.
I mean, we're still technically in pre-alpha.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me that we've got as much done on this side of the ball at least.
Yep.
But we're pumping out stuff as we go.
So.
And I'll be back in an hour or so to show off the temple, so that'll be fun too.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, John. Yep, and now we're going over here. I need Mr. Blair. That's the problem when I'm on.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna stay on you, John.
Blair.
How you doing?
Come on.